It's good to see everybody. We're convening our open session. We have the invocation that will be led by Rabbi Dovid Lisman of the Jewish Community Center. And then following that, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Council Member Drew. If you could all please rise.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, town officials, and good evening to all. May God Almighty bestow upon the leaders of this great town the wisdom and understanding to continue in the path of justice and goodness. Bless these individuals elected by the people, in whom faith and confidence have been placed to legislate laws, making decisions that will affect the lives of the citizens. Let them recognize that this is not only a great honor and a civic responsibility, but a holy endeavor as well. Shortly, we'll be celebrating the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah. We celebrate by eating apples and honey, symbolic of a sweet new year, attending services, and with the blowing of the shofar, symbolic of a simple cry from the depths of one's heart, searching for connection and meaning. Every year, our sages taught, with the cry of the shofar, the entire universe is reborn in a way. And so, with our resolutions and our prayers, we hold an awesome power to determine what sort of newborn year it shall be, how it shall take its first breaths, how it will struggle to its feet, and how it will carry us through life for the 12 months to come, which is why there is always hope, because at every moment, life, opportunity is born anew, and we are masters of how this moment will be born. I'd like to conclude with a special prayer that was said by the high priest in the temple on the high holidays, a prayer for universal peace. May it be your will, Lord our God and God of our fathers, that this coming year shall be for us and for all your people wherever they are, a year of light, blessing, rejoicing, glory, good assembly, song, delight, goodness, deliverance, sustenance, learning, rest, comfort, joy, redemption, jubilation, a year to hold our heads high with peace and plenty. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. He who makes peace on high, may he bring peace upon us and upon all of humanity, and let us all say together, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Thank you, Councilman Giroux. All right, we have a special presentation, but before we do that, I'm going to do roll call. Madam Clerk, if you could please take roll call.
Absolutely. Councilmember Baldino?
Here.
Councilmember Giroux?
Here.
Councilmember Persek is absent this evening. Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel?
Here.
And Mayor Boyles.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, Councilmember, take it away, please. United Against Hate Week.
All right, proclamation for the city of El Segundo, California. Whereas the United States is a nation of immigrants whose strength comes from its diversity, and whereas the Constitution enshrines equality on all individuals, regardless of race, gender, orientation, religion, or political views. And whereas hate speech is increasingly prevalent and propagates discriminatory views against groups and individuals. And whereas the city of El Segundo does not condone or tolerate discrimination in any form. And whereas deep divisions within our country are the result of extreme ideology, further strengthening a cycle of mistrust and suspicion fueled by fear, anxiety, and insecurity. The number of hate crimes across the United States has increased dramatically. And whereas the city of El Segundo is dedicated to preventing and opposing hate and intolerance in our community, the City Council presents this proclamation in support of LA vs. Hate, United Against Hate Week 2024, and city activities to stop hate, intolerance, and bullying, and promote safe, inclusive, and equitable neighborhoods. And whereas education, compassion, critical thinking, and cooperation are key to unlocking understanding and embracing differences between people. Now, therefore, on this 17th day of September 2024, the mayor and members of the City Council of the City of El Segundo, California, hereby proclaim September 21st to 27th, LA vs. Hate, United Against Hate Week, and join other communities in California and cities across this country in this third annual LA vs. Hate, United Against Hate Week 2024, and as an important step in bridging divisions while strengthening and healing our communities. And I believe we have Christabel, Emily Atmore, Shad McFadden, and Scott Houston to receive this proclamation. Christabel, you want to say something?
Yes, Scott and I will share some remarks today, but thank you so much again to the council for supporting United Against Hate Week. It did move earlier this year to align with International Day of Peace on September 21st. So we will be having events throughout the week, which Scott will touch on. But here in El Segundo, we hosted a poster contest. So we do have a few winners. We'll be printing out those posters, and they'll be available for distribution and to be posted up throughout the city. We have a peace pole dedication at the El Segundo High School on Thursday, September 26th at 5 o'clock p.m., so from 5 to 5:30 p.m. You can go to the farmer's market, go to the peace pole dedication, and then starting at 6 p.m., we have the candlelight vigil. It'll be our 4th annual. I'm very proud to have brought this to El Segundo, in its 4th year for United Against Hate Week. So we do have students participating, we have live art, and then speakers for the 1-hour program that we'll have at 6 o'clock on Thursday, September 26th. So we hope to see you all there. Thank you so much for your support. And Scott?
Well, thank you, Christabel, and I want to say thank you so much to the City Council. Of course, most of you know me. I'm Scott Houston, a member of the West Basin Board of Directors, but I'm also a proud member of our South Bay Community Coalition Against Hate. And for those who don't know what that is, it is truly a coalition. So we are made up of all of our cities here in the Beach Cities area, as well as our school districts, the Water District, El Camino College, businesses, and a number of faith organizations. And so we have worked diligently this year, all of us as volunteers, to put on a series of events that will be held in our communities along the coast. So there's a lot of materials that will be out there in the press. I think the Herald's going to be running something for us. Christabel certainly touched on what's going to happen here in El Segundo at the end of that, but let me highlight a couple things for you all and the members of the public. United Against Hate Week does take place September 21 through 27, and it happens to coincide this year with Saturday the 21st, which is International Day of Peace. So there'll be a number of peace pole, memorials, if you will, where people can gather, including at the Beach Cities Health District on that day at noon, as well as the El Segundo High School one will happen that Thursday as they got theirs installed. Also on Sunday, September 22nd, there's going to be an interfaith solidarity event for the LGBTQ plus community of the South Bay, and that's going to happen at the Manhattan Beach Community Church. Because for those who don't know, back in June, or actually in early July, they had a display of rainbow doors that was vandalized at that church. And it had been on display for quite some time, but unfortunately, someone thought that that was something that they needed to tear down. So in keeping with that, we're actually going to reveal a new set of rainbow doors on Sunday, September 22nd. We're also going to have an interfaith gathering of folks. So whether you are of faith or no faith, we invite you to be there and to show solidarity for our South Bay LGBTQ plus community and allies, and we have worked diligently on that program. Two other things I want to bring your attention. One is on Tuesday the 24th, the Beach Cities Health District and PFLAG will be hosting a school safety supports mental health night, and that will be at Redondo Union High School. Because again, with all the challenges going on in the world right now, you know this, especially our young people, they're facing a lot of stress, a lot of tension, and there is no place for hate in our communities. And so we hope this is another way we can bring people together and highlight that and give them resources. Last but not least, besides what Christabel said is going to happen on Thursday the 26th, so lots of good stuff here in El Segundo that evening, including on Candlelight Vigil. But we're also collecting food. We have a nutrition pantry drive that will benefit the Single Mom Project as well as the Richstone Family Center. We have a number of locations across our beach cities where people can drop off canned goods and dry goods, including right here at the El Segundo Library. So all this to be said, when it comes to this coalition, we are so proud of all the folks who've been involved, including some of our local leaders here, whether it's from the council or from staff. We so appreciate that. I also want to give a huge shout out to our chair, Chair Hildy Stern, a former Manhattan Beach City Councilwoman who helps lead this charge with all of us, as well as Supervisor Holly Mitchell, who has been tremendously supportive and instrumental in helping us put together a great week of programs for our communities. So thank you very much. Thank you for the proclamation, and thank you for supporting United Against Hate Week as we all stand in solidarity against any kind of divisiveness in our South Bay cities. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Scott. We'll do a photo, but Shad, saying something? No. Okay, let's do a photo together all the way.
I forgot to mention the candlelight vigil is from 6 to 7 p.m. at Library Park in El Segundo on Thursday.
All right, a couple of photos there. There you go. Hold on, the camera went to sleep. All right, here we go. And a couple more. And one more. And one more like.
All right, Mrs. Mancini, our Director of Rexham Park, is here to talk about summer programming review.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor Boyles, Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel, and members of the City Council. It's hard to believe that summer is already over and we are several weeks into the school year. But as they say, time does fly when you're having fun, and we've had a lot of fun this summer in El Segundo. Very proud of all of our staff and volunteers that have worked together to put on just a huge amount of activities for our residents to enjoy this summer. So I'm going to go through this quickly because there's a lot. But want to start off with, this is working? It's not, I don't think it's working. Let's see. Will you flip, where's the light? Thanks, Linnea. So we will start off with aquatics. So in addition to all of our regular summer programming at the pool, learn to swim programs, water aerobics, et cetera, the staff did a really great job this year of doing some special events just to kind of generate some excitement, bring in maybe new participants. So they hosted a number of activities at the pool. They did several pop-up events where they would throw up a pop-up tent and do games or ice cream. We did a lifeguard appreciation day this summer where people got to come in and write notes to the lifeguard staff to acknowledge and appreciate them. We did several dive-in movies where kids come out and they actually get in the pool and watch the movie at the same time. People loved it. We showed several movies there, and you can see the list of those up on the screen. And then the last week of summer, we do a summer splash-off event where all week long there's extended recreation swim hours. They throw out our giant inflatable slide, and the kids just have a lot of fun. Next, we had our teen activities. So in addition to several weeks of teen camp and our annual Gabbett tournament, we did host a back-to-school bonfire or end-of-summer bonfire over at the Fire Circle on the 24th. And we had about 50 or 50-plus teens come out, which is great for teens, as you know, those of us who have teenagers. They did s'mores, they did an obstacle course, they played a bunch of games, they had a great time. And then, of course, the bread and butter of our summer is our day camps. We offer several day camps that are led by our own recreation staff that have been going on for many years. We've got Tiny Tots for 3 to 5-year-olds. Cowabunga Junior is for 5 to 8. Camp Cowabunga is for 9 to 11. We also have teen camps. This year we brought back some staff-led sports camps, so each week they focused on a different sport. Those were very popular. And then, of course, we always have contract camps as well. Then the summer always brings the return of our El Segundo Beach Shuttle. So this is a popular program where we transport, well, not just teens, but anybody from around the community down to the beach. So we had a little over 1,309 riders. So that's 25 per day, and that was actually a 31% increase in ridership from 2023. And then another popular activity here in El Segundo is our summer concerts in the park, which we hold over in Library Park. They began in June. We had 5 different concerts ranging from yacht rock to Johnny Cash to Elvis Presley. Great music. Everybody here, I think, has been. We had a lot of fun. We also have a couple of food trucks. This year, we kind of introduced some new activities for kids, some cool crafts. But another thing that we did was we started doing the national anthem at the beginning of each concert, and we asked for community volunteers. So we got some community volunteers. We think that will continue to grow, but we got a lot of positive feedback about that. And then our 4th of July celebration, everybody knows how spectacular this event is. It's a full day of fun. We do daytime activities, then we do evening activities. We have live music, community groups come out, the schools get involved, and we estimate that we had about 4,800 that attended the activities this year. Then we have our really popular family camp out, and for those in the audience or who may be watching on TV, this is a really great activity where we invite families to come out to Stevenson Field and they get to pitch a tent and sleep over in the park. We do s'mores, we screen a movie on an outdoor movie screen, we give them dinner and breakfast, and we do arts and crafts. And if you don't want to take your kids out of town for camping, because that sounds like a nightmare to me, you can do this right here in our own backyard. It's a great event. And then finally, our Go Fly a Kite Day. This was our 5th annual Go Fly a Kite Day event. It's a great activity that I believe Ryan Delgado created a few years ago, where the community just comes out into the park and flies kites. We distribute kites. People can bring their own. We also have face painting and music and treats for the kids. It's just another way to get kids out and moving around and into our parks. So again, I want to thank all of our staff for all the work they did this summer to create a lot of memories for El Segundo residents under the leadership of our recreation manager, Linnea Palmer. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Any
Yes.
questions or comments?
All right.
I stumbled into Kite Day with my wife,
Oh.
and I forgot I was going on with our dog, and I was just blown away.
It's amazing.
I mean, the kids, it was really cool. to
Really
see.
cool.
Yeah, that was fun.
Thanks, Mayor.
Great job. Thank you so much. All right, next up, we have accommodation. This one's really cool. I mean, I think we're in the running with Inglewood. They call themselves a city of champions, but we keep having all these people accomplish amazing things, from our Little League team to water polo and everyone else. And this one's no different, really. We have a homegrown product. Allison Reeser, who I've had the opportunity to work with her dad quite a bit on the Run for Education. And she came through the El Segundo High School system. She was an incredible runner, track runner, and she was, according to the Herald, named the world's greatest female athlete. Kind of hard to top that one. So she won the inaugural Women's Decathlon World Championship, and it was a groundbreaking event held in parallel with the Men's Olympic Decathlon in Paris, where women are still barred from competing, actually. It brought together over 30 women from 12 countries. These athletes competed for the prestigious title of World's Greatest Athlete, marking a significant moment in the evolution of track and field. At the Olympic level, the decathlon, a 10-event track and field discipline, which includes running, jumping, and throwing events, has been an all-male competition, while women are restricted to the 7-event alternative, the heptathlon. Refusing to wait for inclusion, pioneering female decathletes took the initiative to organize their own world championship, and Alison Halverson of Armenia claimed the gold with an impressive score of 7,236 points, setting a women's decathlon 100-meter world record, as well as Armenian national records in the decathlon and pole vault en route to the title. Now, as a former longtime El Segundo resident, Allison stands at the pinnacle of her sport, earning the title of the world's greatest female athlete, and we have a commendation for her. She couldn't be here, but her doppelganger is here, and her dad's going to accept the award, right? Mr. Reeser? Yeah, so come on up, please. If you can say a few words, we'll do a photo, yeah.
Well, I thank the council for recognizing Allison. She's been in the track and field business for a very, very long time. Her twin sister, Amy's back here. She is in a distance group, and at San Diego State, they were both NCAA D1 athletes and competed at that thing. And Allison has fond memories of the track. Back when it was a dirt track back in the day for the town upgraded. And so she's very proud of this accomplishment, and did a lot of things here in El Segundo High School. Just fond memory for her. So anyway, thank you for the award, and maybe we can have my wife and her twin come up here if you're gonna.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll
thanks.
do a photo. Please do. Thank you.
All right, very good. And a couple footers. And one more, and I'm done. Thank you so much.
All right, that concludes special presentations. We're on to public communications. Now is the time and place for public communications. We have no cards. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council? Seeing none, public communications are closed. City manager, any comments from you related to Hyperion while we have people in the audience or anything else? Maybe we move that item up, if you don't mind.
Sure, I do have comments regarding Hyperion, Mayor. I'd be happy to share those. At the last meeting, the council directed us to, not consider, but to work with Dr. Stenstrom, who was our distinguished consultant that's been helping us track all of the events at Hyperion, particularly from a technical nature, to modify or work within his contract to select someone or reach out to someone that could assist Dr. Stenstrom, but more a boots-on-the-ground type of person that would help him really look at the day-to-day management of the facility there at Hyperion. And I'm happy to say that we have identified someone that's actually was a former a head of a county division overseeing a water treatment plant. So we are working right now with Dr. Stenstrom to amend his contract to accommodate this additional consultant, and we will revise the agreement so that we can bring him on board as soon as possible to begin working, actually spending the first month, if you will, significant hours down at the plant, kind of looking at things and really spending the time talking with the engineers down there. He can talk their language and will report back to us, and we'll certainly report back to the council. In terms of our efforts with AQMD, on September 5th, the Air Quality Management District hosted a hearing board meeting that several of the council members and staff attended. As you recall, we, the city, did submit a letter prior to that meeting outlining 6 modifications or recommendations to Hyperion's current order of abatement. Happy to say that at that meeting, our letter really seemed to be the focal point of the board members in addressing our items directly to representatives from Hyperion. The board did vote to add more conditions to the order of abatement, including pretty much all of our recommendations, happy to say. If you recall, those conditions included responding to the community members' complaints, properly reporting odor investigation results. There were issues related to equipment refurbishment or repair schedules that needed to be updated monthly, that they will be part of the abatement order. One of the big items was repairing or replacing the doors to the truck loading facilities. Yes.
On that note, having sat through that 3.5-hour hearing, I think that they misinterpreted. I meant to actually reach out to you about this one. They had a much better testifying engineer this time around, much more competent than the last one. I was at that first hearing that was like over 7 hours. But I don't think they got their facts straight. So one of the points we made when we were touring was they are moving the trucks to load the waste, to spread the waste. And the idea we brought forward was, why not have a spreader? They have spreaders for agricultural purposes, et cetera. That way you don't have to move the cab out and keep the doors open. I think that was lost in translation between our letter and the testimony that I heard from the engineer. So I'd like us to reiterate that.
Okay.
The woman actually said under oath that the doors are closed to the best of her ability, but we learned from our tour that they're not they're remaining open for some of these loading purposes.
Correct.
And that can be solved for, and that has a direct effect on our residents. So I wanted to make sure we
absolutely
differentiate
will.
that.
Yes, and we will have another opportunity because at the end of that particular meeting, the AQMD board did go ahead and schedule for November 19th, kind of a follow-up to see where things are at. So we will send a letter prior to that meeting, and we'll make sure to include that amongst a few other things that we're talking about, including in that letter. And then just final thing with AQMD is since September 3rd, they have responded to approximately 97 odor complaints. So the odor complaints are still coming in, and they actually issued 2 notices of violation for public nuisance relating to these odors on September 6th and September 7th. And then finally, we were notified by Hyperion that on September 19th, they'll be performing a load test at their Headworks facility from 7 a.m. to 11, and during this time, it may be necessary to interrupt the service of the associated odor control systems that they implement. So those measures will be put in place and may cause additional odors during that time. That's all I have for this.
So I add a couple quick things. One is you know, I reached out to Mrs. Romero, who's the Department of Sanitation. She's the one we actually asked to be let go, and LA City decided not to do that, instead replaced their plant manager. Despite that, she's still receptive, and because she supports having this person, I think that was the thing that we were concerned about as a council, is that will LA City actually support having someone on the premises? And the answer is yes, it's a public facility, we will. Second thing is, I met with City Councilwoman Tracy Park, who is the district just north of us in LA, and expressed our extreme frustrations about Hyperion. She couldn't say much because of the threat of litigation, but she listened to our concerns. And then finally, having been at the 2 of the last AQMD, what do they call them, governing board hearings, it is clear that all 5 members of that board support us. I mean, it was unanimous that this is incompetent. At the first hearing, they called one of the engineers. He said, "You're lying under oath." And the second one, very clear in terms of wanting us to do an additional check-in, as you mentioned, in November, as well as embracing all of our additional order requests. So I thought that was favorable.
Yes,
It's progress.
actually, one other key thing that came up at the last board hearing, if you recall, the Inspector Haynes, who understands that facility inside and out, is no longer the inspector for this facility, but the board did ask that he attend the next meeting, so we're hoping that actually takes place. And we were hoping also to put our new person that will be working with Dr. Stenstrom in contact with Mr. Haynes so they can exchange information, because again, he's very cognizant of what's going on down there, and was very, very pointed about his concerns.
Colleagues, anything to add or questions?
Just that this next check-in hearing with AQMD is important because right now the deadline to lift the order of abatement is set for January of 2025. And we're still getting 90-some odor complaints. And so we've discussed, we're going to send another letter saying until you can run this plant without violating your permit and causing odor complaints, this abatement order should not be lifted. Because without AMQD's oversight, they're the ones that have the stick and the authority to make changes over there, and we can do our best to advocate and bring forward the data and the information to show that Hyperion is not doing their job correctly yet. So it's going to be an important meeting for us.
Thank you for adding that. Great point. All right, let's see. If there's nothing further, we'll move on to item A, procedural motions. Read all ordinances and resolutions on the agenda by title only. Thank you. Pivotal on the first.
Drew second.
Drew second. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4-0, Madam Clerk. Any polls for consent?
Number 13, please.
Maple number 6, please. You said 6, Mayor
Yes,
Pro
sir.
Tem? Okay, and
13?
13 for Baldino. Any others? Okay, do we have a motion to, I'm sorry.
So sorry. For item B5, warrants, the register 5A should read as of 9/17, not 9/5. So it's just a date correction.
Noted. Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. Okay, do we have a motion to approve items 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12?
Pivotal, so moved.
Second. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That was Drew on the second. Okay, Item 6, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor, number 6 is the notice of completion and agreement for amendments for El Segundo Boulevard Improvement Project. Director Sassoon, I pull this because I think it's worth noting this project was $7.5 million, which if we paid for this out of the general fund would be almost 8% of our general fund dollars. And it speaks to a few things. One, we're able to apply for grants in our pieces of the tax increment for this because we scope accurately. So it's easy to get up here and say, hey, we came under budget if you make the budget, 25% over what you think it's going to be. But we do not do that. And as a result, it took a little bit of courage to ratchet the budget down when we thought we'd come under. And part of that was with some engineering data on the eastbound lanes of El Segundo Boulevard. And what we're doing now is adding the contingency back in, which still keeps us under the initial budget. But I think it speaks to a few things. We are able to attach Measure M and Measure C funds because people believe in our efficiency and they believe in our ability to scope accurately. And that's a measure of what your department does. But I owe it to you to beat you up over this because we are raising the contingency for the first time in 3 years. So I applaud you accurately scoping this. I applaud you for getting it done with money that we've already paid in to the county, so not using any general fund dollars. But by the same token, we are raising the contingency. And with that, I'll move approval.
And do you want to comment on the contingency, Mr. Sassoon? Or?
Well, thank you for the compliment. I really would like to compliment staff, particularly Cheryl Ebert, who is in the audience. As a project manager, she did a great job from the beginning, from the design through the construction. We had some, long rains, as you remember, delays, but we were able to pull it through. I get compliments from the people who use the road. They are pretty happy. So.
Any other jurisdiction would have chopped this project into 11 segments and done it one block at a time to show people progress. But that would have been marvelously inefficient and we'd be doing this thing for 4 years. So we did it in 2 big chunks. We took all the face shots of people telling us how angry they were that the lights weren't synchronized. And the one on Nash still isn't, but I understand that is county DWP. But I mean, no city delivers projects like this. I mean, nobody does. So, and you and I sit on that meeting every month and see all these things that are right turn lanes to nowhere that never get completed. So, thank you, and again, I'll move approval.
All right, Public Works Department of the Year for LA County. All right, we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0. All right, thank you. And then Councilor Baldino, item 13, please.
Item 13 is a request for substitution of a subcontractor for the plunge. There wasn't a lot of information given in the staff report, so I just want to know if you've got any more information to.
Yes, I contacted along with our project manager, again, Ms. Cheryl Ebert, and talked to the contractor. We also tried really, about a dozen times to talk to the sub who is walking away from the project. He has not returned our phone call at all. He has not returned the phone call of the general contractor either. So the best I could tell, based on my conversation with the general contractor and the letters that was sent by the sub who is walking from the project, when the general contractor received a sub bid for the air conditioning and the control segment of the plunge, it was based on the lump sum, and the bid included all the items. When it came time to execute the agreement, the sub indicated some of the work that were included according to the contractor in the proposal was not part of what he was going to do. So they started talking, and finally the sub decided to walk away from the project voluntarily. He has changed his office location. He has changed his phone number. The only way to access him is through his cell number. Like I said, we left about a dozen messages. He has not called us back. And I'm also letting you know that the substitution is going to cost a little more money than this bid. In other words, the contractor was not trying to save money. The substituted sub is going to be costing a little more to do this work.
That's on the general contractor.
That's correct.
All right, just so we're clear.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
accepted a
It's-
bid from the general lump sum.
That's right.
His
That's-
issues with the subs are his issues.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to make sure that we knew what was going on the project, and I'm glad to see in the report that the replacement sub is licensed and in good standing, so we
Yes,
can move forward.
it is.
Okay. Thank you for the report.
Of
With
course.
that, I'll move approval.
Thank you.
We have a first.
Second.
All right, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0. All right, there's a bit of a caveat for item 14 under staff presentations, continue emergency action for the repair of the storm drain pipe on Grand Avenue. We have an added motion which we need to do first, if the council agrees to do so, which is to, let's see here. Do you want to read it, Madam Clerk, or do I read this here? You're going to read
My
it,
little
yeah.
explanation is, after the posting of the agenda, but before this evening, it was learned that, and the sinkhole that's out on this project that's identified in this agenda item, that there's additional damage to a adjacent sewer line, and staff wants to, at the same time, fix that sewer line because they're down in the ground fixing the sinkhole. And so we're asking the council tonight to add this to the agenda, and that takes a supermajority vote to add it to the agenda. And then at that point, you can talk about, Elias can give you the details of what occurred and what's being asked of you. But first, to be able to have that conversation, we need to add it to the agenda.
Any questions?
No, Baldino so moves to add to the agenda.
I'll second.
Favor?
All's in favor? Aye. Okay, 4-0. Thank you. All right, and then before us is, again, to continue the emergency action for the repair of the storm drain pipe on Grand Avenue. Mr. Sassoon.
And Elias, you can also explain the other action that you need.
Sure. So as it is explained on the staff report, this sinkhole started with discovery of a lateral to the storm pipe was cracked, and the gap was a few inches. And for many years, all the backfill and the dirt that supports the pipe has been washing through this crack into the storm drain, little by little. How many years? I don't know, but it's obviously for a long time. Because once we removed the sinkhole, it was a big cavity of about 6 foot by 4 foot by 6 foot. And it was a big cavity, and we were lucky to be able to discover that. So we got to the storm lateral pipe, and we fixed the gap last week. But then on our way toward filling the hole that we had created, we noticed that the sanitary sewer line, which runs parallel to that drain pipe at the depth of about 6 feet or so, was clogged and was leaking. So we learned that also the support of that sanitary sewer pipe, which is 8-inch main pipe, the bottom part of that pipe has also been washing through the sinkhole. And as a result, this sewer line has vertically displaced. What I mean by that is the joints of the pipes were displaced. They were gaps. We were able to televise the line after we clean it up. So there are gaps for about length of 140 feet. Not only that, but the pipe is no longer on a slope. It's sagged, yes. So we have to remove that pipe and replace it, put it in a nice slope with the foundation. And we thought it would really, we need to do that as part of this so that, while the trench is open, do it all at once. The estimated cost will be about $120,000. But I'm asking for additional maybe $15,000 for contingency and get authorization from the city council if they would allow us to amend our contract with the contractor to not only finish the repair of this storm pipe, which is already done, but also fix this sanitary sewer and cover it up back up and fix the road.
Is there any preventative maintenance that we can do in the sanitary sewer if we're down there? Are we able to scope it or look for any other cracks? I mean, most of those sewers are probably 40 or 50 years old since the last replacement.
There are. So when we televised the line, we went further, and I personally saw the video. So it looks pretty darn good, with the exception of this 140 feet. These lines, they do not really cause any issue unless the support is undermined. And frankly, if that wasn't the crack on the storm pipe, I don't think we would have this problem. So we also have yearly inspection where we also run these sanitary sewers, that we televise them, and we identify the pipes that need rehab. We either line them where it does not need to be trenched. As you know, we slip a line through it, which is a lot more convenient, about half of the cost. And if we have to replace it, we will replace it. So we have a program where every year we target those pieces of pipe that need either replacement or to be lined, and we take care of those as we go forward on a yearly basis.
Is there any sense on what could have caused that crack? There's no major construction there, the MEP station? I don't know.
That's a very good question. Just suspecting, based on my experience, I think the lateral that was installed was already cracked and was defected, and probably that, along with not enough compaction, because it was at the depth of about 20 feet. So it couldn't be the way of the truck traffic. It doesn't exert all the way that deep in 20 feet to the ground. I believe that lateral pipe was defected when it was installed. That's
in
my
that segment,
guess.
is it next to the sanitary and sewer instead of being on top of it?
The lateral was feeding into the 72-inch pipe, and the 6-inch pipe is on top of the 72-inch storm pipe. So the lateral is here that caused the problem. It's approximately to this sewer, but again, the support underneath the sanitary sewer found its way in getting washed out, and the material really was the reason why the sanitary sewer got displaced.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I won't dork anyone else out with civil engineering projects, sorry.
Very boring, isn't it?
Unless you're the one cleaning it up. I'll move approval.
All right, yeah, this is for the updated request. Thank you. We got a first.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 15, long-awaited Recreation Park renovation project Phase 1, proposed Teen Plaza renovation options, and I see Mrs. Mancini.
Good evening again, Honorable Mayor Boyles, Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel, and members of the City Council. I'm very pleased to be before you this evening to continue our discussion and planning for the Recreation Park renovation project. Tonight, we will be focusing the discussion on the footprint of the outdoor spaces at the Teen Center, which staff refer to as the Teen Plaza. This encompasses the current skate park, basketball court, and non-program space adjacent to the indoor facility. As the council may recall, in March of this year, the city entered into a contract with MIG, an architectural design firm, to complete final plans and specifications for several renovation projects within Recreation Park. Ultimately, the council directed staff and MIG to focus work on the Teen Center and Teen Plaza initially. In early planning discussions, there were several options considered for the exterior footprint of the facility. One option considered was reviewing the possibility of moving the skate park from the Teen Plaza into another area at Rec Park. However, there was not a significant amount of support for that, and so we ultimately decided to keep the skate park in the Teen Plaza. This evening, Jennifer Zell from MIG will walk the council through 3 options for a redesign of the Teen Plaza for council's consideration and approval. And we will bring back plans for the interior facility at a subsequent council meeting. So I'll invite Jennifer Zell from MIG.
Thank you, Ally. And is the clicker working? So thank you for having us here tonight, and this is such an exciting opportunity.
Rec Park is such a cool place. It seems like the center of your community. We've been getting to know it over the past months, and a lot of social life happens there and a lot of different age groups, which is just fantastic. So thank you. And we want to walk through, as Ali just mentioned, 3 specific footprint options for the Teen Plaza. And so what we have is a couple of things here. We have a couple of views from the street that sort of helps to articulate the relationship of Teen Plaza to the Teen Center, which is part of our project, but not part of the subject of the topics tonight. And so this shows a little bit of that relationship between the Teen Plaza and the Teen Center renovation, as does this image here. So those two pieces are going to work in an interrelated relationship. And so option 1 here that we're looking at, I want to point out a couple of things. The first thing is this red dashed line that you see that's going to flow through each of the 3 different options, and that is the footprint of the existing skate park that you have there now. And then what we're looking at here in this option 1 is the basketball multi-purpose court is existing, and we're saying it's as is, and so that's the footprint of what you see out there right now. And so that's about 7,000 square feet is that area now. The existing skate park is about 6,650 square feet. And so this reference will go throughout these couple of different slides that we're looking at right here tonight. And so the option 1 was to keep the skate park, to keep the basketball court, multi-use court, essentially as is. However, we have included a couple of modifications to give it to seal it basically, and also to repaint and restripe the area. That's about it for that existing site. Keep the poles in place, and just do some cosmetic painting repairs, and use the footprint of the skate park, use a similar footprint of the skate park as we have right now. And so there's an advantage, there's some cost savings there that we'll look at a little bit later in this presentation, and there is an advantage of reusing some of what's out there already, those existing facilities. The disadvantage is that configuration and alignment prohibits those open building connections to the Teen Plaza. And that's primarily because there's a grade difference along the face of the Teen Center now of about 20 inches. And so that won't allow for that indoor relationship to happen. You can't open the doors and have a 20-inch fall. The other disadvantage is it's a poor orientation of the basketball court to the building. So the building is sort of a backstop right now, as it is, the orientation is currently. It also limits the skate park area and flow. We can talk about that a little later. We have Aaron here, can answer any of your questions if you want to ask about skate park flow in particular. But it also constrains that entry plaza to the street connection in that option. So option 2 is for a new basketball court, multi-purpose court. It keeps the alignment in pretty much a very close proximity to what it is now, but it moves it north slightly. And one thing that's introduced in this image here is this green dotted line that shows the existing basketball court location. And so the other thing that's shown in this diagram as well is new proposed seat walls. You can see that in this yellow-brown color, as well as proposed stairs that accommodate that grade transition from the plaza into that multi-purpose court. And so what a couple of those moves do here in particular is this move in option 2 changes the size of the basketball multi-use court to be a regulation court size for junior high. And it moves it north slightly, and we gain about 440 square feet here for the skate park in this particular option 2. So we've got, again, an area of 6,560 square feet for the basketball multi-purpose court, and the skate park at 7,090 square feet. So those it allows for those open building connections to the teen plaza because it accommodates the grade change between the two. It improves the entry plaza to street connection because we gain a couple 400 square feet, approximately 440. And then the disadvantages, there's a cost increase for this larger footprint. There's also there's a limited skate park area and flow, and there's still that same orientation of the basketball court to the building. It's still perpendicular. And so the third option is option 3, which is a new basketball court and multi-purpose court, and that's with the court rotated. It's rotated to the north, sort of, not quite on an axis in the north west corner, but it's rotated as you can see here in this image. And what this option does is it provides a larger, more generous entry plaza off of the street and entering into the building, and it also changes the rotation of the court so that it's not straight on and perpendicular right into the building as a backdrop. So those are the advantages. In summary, it maximizes those open building connections and flow to the teen plaza, maximizes the entry to the street connection, maximizes the skate park area and flow, and improves the orientation. And so this is this causes a cost increase overall. And we have this is a preliminary cost estimate. We have just to give you some context, we have a full schematic design cost estimate once we get into the design and detailing of all these elements within the skate park. So these are based on rough cost estimate numbers and square footages. So that's what's presented here now. So overall, you can see, we were talking about contingencies earlier. We have a higher contingencies because of that at this amount now, a 20% contingency. So option 1 comes in at about 1.3129. You can see it up here. Option 2 comes in at about 1.6, and option 3, 1.674. Overall, we can look, if you want to, we can look into those numbers, but I think you have it in your presentation. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes.
One thing I heard loud and clear from a member of the public was it's important to have just, I can't think of the term he used, but like gathering space that wasn't skate and it wasn't basketball. Saying like the teens really need more organic gathering space. Can you show us on there with those 3 options where that
Sure.
would be?
Where do teens
Like
gather?
where they're not interfering with the flow of skating or basketball. It currently exists. I mean, I was there, what's that, Saturday for the skate slam. I couldn't quite figure out where he was referring to. So in the current design, where
Yes.
is just the general?
Yes, sure. Oops. So currently, I think the main gathering space is that triangle at the north. And Allie, the triangle at the north, and there's some area up against the building as well where there's, right now you have not temporary, but those aluminum stadium seats.
And then 2 and 3 have seating for basketball, which I don't believe currently exists, right? There's
Correct.
no which having kids that went through that would be pretty cool. Option 1 does not have the seating, or it does?
The seating there is some seating, but as you can see, I can't point, but the shiny white bars that you see, those are, stadium seating. Those are aluminum seats that are out there now that can be moved around. So those are the areas of gathering right now at the site. You're right, and so that interaction between spectator and spectacle of skating, it happens in narrow corridors, I would say, existing now. In option 2, that maintains that north area, that north triangle for spectating, and I think people could also sit on the edge between the that you see the parallel north-south edge between the plaza, the small plaza that's at the front of the teen center and in front of the basketball court here. And I think another terrific gathering option is a new seat wall in the perimeter. So you can sit, the intention is that you can sit on either side and look and watch the skate park happening, or you can sit on the other side of it and watch what's happening on the courts. So I think that's a good advantage for gathering on those edges for teens. And then the option 3, I think the main gathering point, and I think also what we've heard from the public, I'm not sure who that is, but they've mentioned several times, is the need for a pop-up event, a place to have a pop-up event and kind of check people in and orient them if they have an event or something. And so that pop-up kind of shade structure is optimal in option 3 because it can fit in that space that's accommodated with the rotating of the court. So it's that space you see here between the skate park and the building, and it facilitates kind of a good flow from the street, from that parking lot into the building entry. And it also, and you can also gather again along that area between the teen center and the court, that edge that runs sort of north-south.
Thank you. Do you have more to present? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is that
The
it?
schedule, the project
Oh,
schedule?
yes. Well, do you want to do that now? Do you want to go over the project schedule now?
No, I think probably.
Go over this
Yeah, we'll go
first.
over the
Sure. Okay.
configuration. So you answered my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, the other one was, it said for option 2 and 3 that it's diminished flow or whatever for
Yes.
skating, whatever terminology used. Is it material? Does it not really matter? I mean, is option 1 still good from a skating standpoint? Because the whole problem with the current configuration is it's not good.
Yeah, I think it's the same problem.
With option 1 or option 1, like which? Like my point is, it looks like the teen group and the Rexham Park, vast majority said option 2 is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of the staff members. So the question is, option 2 work for the skate community is a question. Option 2, not option 1. Yeah,
I
sorry,
think-
option 2.
I would, Aaron's here, so I'd like him to, he's the expert. I would like him to kind of address that question, to really describe and help understand what the benefits are for the flow.
I think to your point, Mayor, as far as the staff, if you see the numbers, the staff was split a little bit. I think 1 vote in favor of option 2, but there was still support for option 3 as well.
In this last go-around.
Yeah, let's qualify
We
that.
have had
Yeah.
these conversations with staff over 5 years now, so.
I'm
let's
just referring to
qualify
the,
what we're talking about.
right, I'm just referring to the conversations we've had in the last 6 months.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, the primary challenge to the skate park area is that it's L-shaped, for one. So it's a difficult shape for skaters to navigate. They skate in kind of organic lines and shapes. So the L shape is the primary problem with the skate park. It's also kind of a small space. And so in option 1, the way it's currently configured, one solution to that is to put a bowl, which has been asked for by the community, and which is also a good balance to the street skating type of park that it currently is. And the bowl could fit in the corner and occupy that space. So it kind of changes the L shape. And so now we have the bowl in the corner, and we have kind of a linear back and forth corridor, which is kind of what they're currently using. Like, that's really the only part of the current skate park design that they use, is that back and forth corridor. If we could click to option 2, is that possible?
Yep.
Oh, I do it?
Yep.
So in option 2, there is some gained space by the changing of the width of the basketball court, but it really does not get applied to the skate park area because it's mostly being occupied by the seat wall that's sitting in between the two, which is a good option because it provides the opportunity for seating both directions. And that's the other issue with the skate park, is there is really no space within that skate park footprint for people to rest and hang out. It's all really skating area. And once it's redesigned where it really is functioning better, you're gonna have skaters going all over the place. So having areas for them to sit within that space makes a lot of sense. But the square footage of the skate park really doesn't grow. We end up with pretty much the same square footage that we have currently. It's not until we get to option 3, where the basketball court rotates, that we actually gain some square footage in the area where the bowl would go. And the skate park fans out and gives us more area for that one side and that one run. And these design concepts that are shown there, those were really just very quick and dirty mock-ups. But and to the where the entrance of the building is, where there's kind of like an expanded interface space into the entrance of the building, there's a ramp right to the west of that opening area. That could be scaled back. That could allow for more of an open area within that entry area there, because I'm hearing the need for room for people to hang out and not be involved in the multi-use court or in the skate park. So the designs can change, but really we're not gaining a ton of space or an enhanced shape to work with in option 1 or option 2. It's not till we get to option 3 where we're really kind of able to do more with the skate park space. We're going to end up with a similar design that you currently have, except for there will be a bowl in the corner. That makes sense.
Which is a big, the fact that we don't have one, I think, that's a very desirable feature, right?
I think that adding a bowl is going to be a great enhancement at the park. It's going to change the users that are going to come and use it. It's going to provide for 2 different disciplines of skating, bowl skating and street skating. So that will be a good enhancement for sure.
I'll jump in the pool first, apparently. I got a lot of questions. All right. Number one, I just want to kind of go back to just an overall concept that in the city of El Segundo, we have a limited amount of park space and green space. And in that space, we have to try to accommodate all of the needs of everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how many skaters there are in town. There's a good amount. I get that as part of the culture. But, for example, you know, we had 400 Little Leaguers every year, and we have 1 baseball field. So we have to do what we have to do. I could probably show you data that shows that we could build 24 new pickleball courts, and it would be justified. But it doesn't balance the need for the community. So I just kind of wanted to express that. We cannot count the school fields as part of what we do. And it's just what we have. So when it comes to this, I'm looking at the overall budget. And if I recall, and it's written here, $8.7 million was for the renovation of the teen center, which included the basketball court and the skate park. So this money is for the entire project.
The $8 million is for this part and also the fields, the 2 fields.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So now, right. So if you look at that, we're already busted on that, right? So we're going to need more money than the 8.7 we've already allocated. So all I know is that this has taken a year for this to come back, right? This was last September 2023, I think, that we first started with this, September, October.
Yes.
So it's taken a long time, and
Right.
I know there's been a lot of redesign on this and
Right.
things, and
Yes.
I'd be interested to know, out of all these new redesigns and architectural drawings and all that, how much did that cost? Is that part of the 8.7, or is that an additional cost? Did that come out of what we're paying
Want to answer that?
to this management company, or
Just to clarify, the question is construction cost?
No, I'm asking,
Fee.
like,
These are costs.
like, I know we went from kind of one idea to all of a sudden 3 ideas, or there's obviously, I'm sure you're not doing this for free, so there's architectural drawings to come up with these 3 ideas and these 3 concepts. Is that part of the whole package that you agreed to, or is this an addition?
I see what you're asking. Yes, this is a fee-based contract.
Okay.
So we haven't asked for additional fee for it. It wasn't part of our contract initially to have these extra
Okay.
6-8 meetings and this. Yep, go ahead.
So you're saying that overall, I guess it's, you said, yeah, I almost felt like a yet was coming. So you said you haven't asked for it. Is it coming?
So what we're hoping for is direction so we can move forward. We've been doing, I think, this goodwill. We're trying to get a good
Okay,
solution.
gotcha. All right, that helps answer my question. Thank you. So then the second thing is between, I think you answered my question, gentlemen, there, is that between those two options, what are you really gaining as far as function on, I guess, B versus C? I don't get that, like option 2 versus 3. It looks like option 2 gives you the bowl, it gives you all the things you talk about. Option C is like, wow, it'd be really great if we can get it. And why wasn't there, with all of the outreach you did, why wasn't there more for option C? What am I missing here? Because everybody seemed to go option 2, right? So why did option 3, which is $70,000 more?
Right.
There's a reason why. I don't know what it is, though, based on this piece of information.
Do you want to summarize
Sure.
what happened at the subcommittee and then briefly what happened at
Yes.
the Parks and Rec?
All right, that would help. Thank you.
Yes, so we basically took the options we had to take it through the Park Renovation Subcommittee and also the Rec Park Subcommittee, or the Rec Park Commission. So it's gone back and forth a few times. We did take votes with each of those groups, and that information is provided in the report. So I don't know if you want to share specifically the feedback on option 2?
Here's what the conversation has been at the subcommittee. The Parks and Rec subcommittees, myself, Carol, Dave Lubes, and Bob Moda, and staff. And there was conversations about the importance of keeping the square footage of the basketball space as an open, programmable space. And when you go there, as the subcommittee has done, you'll see kids just kind of hanging out at that area, throwing a frisbee. There's very little organized basketball going on, but it's just a gathering space for kids to kind of be kids and monkey around. And so there was a meeting where we were presented plans where all of the plans reduced the basketball and made a larger skate park. And we said, staff, this is not the direction that the subcommittee wanted. We wanted to see, and our conversations are very much about the less we touch, the less expensive it'll be. So there was conversation about we need to level the basketball court. And it's like the basketball court is fine. It's not perfect. It's never been perfect, but it's okay for a teen center for drop-in pickup play. And so that's how we requested the 3 is just leave the basketball court alone. 2 is, okay, let's fix and repair the basketball court and upgrade it because it'd be silly to have a brand new skate park, a brand new teen center, and an asphalt play area, which is really what it is, not a basketball court, an open play area. And then 3 was expanding the skate park. And so I feel there's been a very vocal minority who believe that we should have this expanded skate park. And my concern, as expressed during these meetings, is that we need to meet the needs of all of our users, skaters, non-skaters, girls and boys, and that comes from having more open, programmable play area. And so there was kind of a line in the sand at the subcommittee saying, we don't want to lose any space in the basketball court. At the Rexham Park Commission, between Bob Moda and Dave Lubes, there was kind of a compromise on option 2 because staff's like, it gives a little runway for the skate park. It's more of a kind of an open area. We're going to create some seating where you can watch both skating and basketball, but it's also, you lose a little open playground space, but the trade-off is you get more seating, you get more hangout areas. So option 2 is kind of a compromise that the Parks and Rec Commission that I watched, they kind of said, this is going to work for the most user groups. So that's kind of what I saw when I watched that meeting. I didn't go to it, I watched it online. But at the Parks and Rec Subcommittee, we're going back and forth, and we're getting public comments from people heavily invested in skating. And obviously they want a larger skate park. I get that. If you're into skating, you want what's best for your group. But as you said, we've got to make a decision what's best for all user groups at the teen center. And I think option 2 is probably the best way to go. We can't not fix the basketball court. It's a maintenance nightmare. You might as well upgrade everything. And option 2 allows us to have some multi-purpose space that I think would benefit most groups, adds a little to the skate park, but doesn't take away kind of that open flow area that we want to encourage of just like events we can't even think of right now that teens may want to do. And, the 3 of us were out there at the Skate Slam event, which was great. And the blacktop was full of parents and pop-up tents and people kind of milling around as we watched the skating competition. So it's a good mix of both. But as you said, we've got to meet the needs of everybody, and I think option 2 is the best compromise to kind of get that done. It renovates everything at the skate park, but doesn't favor one group over the other by taking away space that could be used for other events.
One of the pieces of information I wanted to share with the council is we did go out, staff went out over a course of about 2 weeks and took attendance, if you will, or counted heads, if you will, of how many folks there were at the skate park and then at the basketball court multi-use area. So they did this over the course of 5 hours every day. So at the top of every hour, they went out and counted, and the average skate park number was of kids or participants was 28, and at the court multi-purpose area was 49. And so that was just recently in September. We got that information.
Yeah. And this, like I said, this has been talked about 4 or 5 years. You know, my son was on the teen advisory commission, and they talked about, you know, we don't want to lose the basketball court. So I think option 2 is the way to go on this.
One quick thing, though. You
Yes.
said, Councilor Baldino, that not demoing the court, but I think option 2 calls for demoing, right?
Correct.
Just because it's not
Yeah.
level,
Yes.
or what's the?
Option 1, because the court was slanted, but it's also asphalt and it's been patched and repatched, and it would just look horrible to have a brand-new teen center facade and a nice new skate park and have this asphalt. And in conversation with Elias, who comes to our subcommittees,
Right.
you know, the maintenance is better if we just demo the asphalt and put concrete in. And yes, we're over the initial budget, but that is as all things are in public works. You know, the longer we delay and get things going, the more it's going to cost.
And with the leveling too, we're then able to do that, the outdoor-indoor connection with the roll-up doors, which is it's very desirable for the staff and for the kids. They like that. We can open up those roll-up doors, and it allows for a platform there so everybody can, you can, so that is a really nice benefit to that option. I think that's something we're really excited about.
Can I ask just 2 questions that are entirely not linked, because I think I'm probably the one with the least exposure to this. Question 1, when we polled the teens in their conversation, were they trying to put themselves in our shoes and factor in costs and all of these things, or was it purely a utility-based question of, hey, what would you rather use this thing for?
Yes,
Okay, it's the latter.
yes.
And second, are we considering the skate park a teen center amenity, or is it a rec and park amenity that is co-located with the teen center?
So this is.
Because that's an important question of, are we weighting the teen's opinion on something that is not exclusively theirs? Ideally, like, do we expect 30-year-olds with Pal Peralta t-shirts showing up to skate on this thing who aren't currently doing so because it's a substandard facility?
So you bring up a really good question. This actually came up
Thank you.
at our
I
last.
haven't heard that in weeks.
Last Rec and Park Commission was, because the commissioners expressed some concern about making this a little, having these kind of advanced amenities in the skate park side. Are we going to be bringing in adults, bringing in older teenagers? And, well, yeah, that probably will happen. And then the question came, well, is that what we want? Do we want it to be a multi-age court? Or skate park, I'm sorry. Do we want it to serve as the skate park? It is the only skate park in our community. So by default, that's where the older skaters will go if
But it's also
they
at the
can.
teen center.
And it is at the teen center.
Well, that is, I mean, that's the nature of my question is, I wasn't here when we put this in.
Correct.
Do we consider it, is it a public amenity that is located on the teen center property, or is it part of the teen center for teen programming? Because I think the attractive nuisance question is real. Like, if it's an awesome skate park, we can expect the entire X Games posse to show up with Monster Energy drinks and rock and roll, and
Right.
I don't know if we necessarily want, the Pal Peralta guy hanging out with my 8th grader.
Right.
Because I don't.
Right.
No, I agree.
No, I mean, no, it's
It
not-
is very much for teens who really have nowhere else to go.
Well, I mean, but again, this is my question. Right now, it is fenced off from the teen center. There is an access point to the teen center. So I guess I'm asking a legitimate public question. Like, is it attached to and for the benefit of teens? Because if it is, and they want option 2, I said we go with option 2. If we say we want an awesome skate park for awesome skate park people to do, and it's going to face out to Grand, I mean, that's a different question.
Right, so the entryway to get into the skate park is the same entryway.
All right,
that
so
you
it is
use.
part of the teen, so we are
It is.
agreed that it's part of the teen center for the benefit of
Part of the
teens and
teen
not
center.
for the, the Vetra Veriflex.
Right, however, it's open to all ages.
Right, but
Not all ages.
the nice drawings.
Like my
in the
ages?
front-
We don't go out and monitor the teen center, or the skate park.
Little history, can I just?
Yes,
little history?
please.
Before
Yeah.
the skate, how long has the skate park been here?
Gosh,
20
Good
years?
question, Tracy.
20.
20 years. So before
At
that,
least
because
20
I,
years,
have
25.
kids old enough to know this, that we're skating off roofs and bombing
Right.
Grand Hill and everything else. And everyone skated. You know where they skated? You guys remember? The Skaters Circle at Rec Park.
Oh, boy.
And,
Yes.
100 would gather at a time, and so it was like, hey, we should probably build a place for teens, but it wasn't just teens, it was teens and adults, and before that, they were shooting Six Gaps and Stairs and all over town, and so the thing, I look at Inglewood, they just built a pump track, have you guys been there for that? It's
Yes.
multimodal, it's got bikes, you got
great.
mountain bikes, BMX, roller skaters, skateboarders, and having been there at 7 in the morning with an El Segundo resident, it pulled all age groups. But that is more of an open park kind of situation. So, I mean, it's a good point. I don't know what kind of skate parks exist out there. It used to be Hermosa Beach had a great skate park right on Hermosa. I don't know if that's still the case. And is there enough other inventory out there?
I'd probably let Mr. Spawn answer that
Yeah,
question.
but I mean, like, I guess I think that I agree about option 2. You're not really, you're not changing the size of the basketball court at all. You're reconditioning it. You're keeping some public gathering space.
Option 2, sorry, yes.
But anyway, that's all I have on this matter.
But I
This
want
one,
to point out the nice, pretty drawing in the front that shows the teen center doesn't have a fence. And I would imagine, or I want to get support, that the teen center should be fenced off
Yes.
for events or security
It
or
will
whatever it is, so that it can be locked up or whatever. So there will be a perimeter fence that will have the basketball court and the skate park together. And if there are adults using it, they're going to use the restroom at the teen center with teens. So that's kind of an issue we have to think about. But
We wouldn't let adults come in the teen center, but they will try, I agree with you. But we will not allow that.
that's good to hear.
We will not allow that.
So it's same, right now there's a fence around the whole premise, right? Like when I went Saturday,
Yes.
you go through one gate to get into the whole facility,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. I think option 2 makes sense. As much as I'd love to see an enhanced skate park, it doesn't seem to make sense given these constraints and what our rec park committee said, so.
Sure.
No, I like option 2, and just so we know, like the schematic of what's going to go in the skate park, we're going to defer to the experts and user groups of what they want to do in there. This conversation is what's the footprint, and to Chris's point, what's the goal, I guess, of the teen center? What is the user group we're trying to accommodate? So I agree. I think option 2 is a good compromise, and it'll be a nice facelift on a much outdated facility.
I have to ask on the teen center, I saw 3.6 million or something.
For
Is
the
that-
teen center?
For the interior of the teen center, is that, it's in the table. Is that really rough number? That just seems.
We don't have those numbers yet. We're going to be,
I'm pretty sure it's in there.
oh, they did it, just, go ahead. Yeah.
We pulled it out and I didn't bring it, but yeah, it's a square footage, I think it was between 400 and 450 square foot.
That would assume, like, are we changing walls? Are there ADA requirements? What's driving? That just seems like a lot of money.
But that's
for-
inclusive of the skate park, isn't it?
No, that was an addition.
3.6 to 4.8, depending on the options you want, just for the teen center interior.
Yeah, I would just hope we could go back and sharpen the pencil on that one. I don't know what we're doing that's going to equate to that much.
Yeah, I remember we looked over that, and I thought it a pretty good idea that it was going to be less. There was removing a wall, there's new paint, new camera system, stage, new wiring. I'm trying to remember, but 3.6 seems...
They showed us some designs at the subcommittee of the interior. It's more of an open space. All the bathrooms are getting redone so that they're, unisex bathrooms. They're doing the roll-up doors, but we're not putting any skylights. I think they're adding one window. They're not really going to punch any holes in the exterior. It's an old cinder block building.
We're going to bring this back. We
it's-
just wanted to do the footprint first because we thought that might, that might alter what we need to do. But so we're going to bring back high-level conceptual designs. They've already seen them. It's got to go to some others. And then we'll bring back those numbers then at that time.
No, I understand, and that's great,
Yes.
but just know when you have a staff report and I see $8.7 million budget and I see these numbers and I'm pretty good at the basic math and none of it adds up. So that's scary.
8.7 is what we have budgeted.
Right, so if
That's
I'm
what the
looking at the
city
numbers
has,
here,
right. Their
you
estimate.
can't get done
No.
phase one based on 8.7.
No, their estimate for completing phase 1 was 13.5.
Right.
8 is what we have.
Right.
Yes, that's
So-
correct. There is a delta.
So there's already a $5 million delta before we even get started.
Yes, if we move forward with the original plans that we've been discussing for about a year, we started with, there will be a delta.
But it looks like the basic option for George Brett is 4.4. George Brett and the softball fields, and this is grading and drainage. And the upgraded option is 9.5. And I know Elias is going to get rid of the cornhole area and all that. We're going to do that, put more green space in ourselves. So I think there's some fuzzy math going on here from what I'm looking at.
So we'll take a look at that. Remember, we started with one consulting firm and we've moved to another, so we
Right.
need to work together.
Wouldn't it make sense, though, like, the teen center has to encompass the skate park, the basketball court, and the center itself?
Yes.
Okay, like, right now, we're throwing other things into it, because I know that was part of phase one, but the truth is, if you're gonna start construction on the skate park and the basketball court, aren't you doing the teen center at the same time?
Yes, but we wanted to get the footprint.
Gotcha. So
Right,
the footprint
that's all.
is, so I think we have a
Yes.
consensus here on option 2, am I correct?
Yes.
Do you want me to do we just move on that and just kind of
Yeah,
cross
just one
that
quick
off?
question.
Perfect.
When might we see the teen center interior?
So it's going to go to the Recreation and Park Commission hopefully next month or the month after, because we do want to do some outreach to the teens with that. And then, so you guys would hopefully see it by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, question? You want to?
Yeah, just quick, it seems to be taking we haven't done any outreach at all on the interior of the teen center in over a year.
Well, we did initial informational sessions with the teens, but now that we have the designs, we're going to go out and ask them for input on that.
I think they want Wi-Fi and walls, which they'll get one of the two. They're going to get one of the two.
But one of the things that is challenging is we're working with 3 separate voting bodies that want to see the plans. They meet once a month.
Okay,
If a meeting is canceled.
Can I stop that 1 second?
You can
then?
absolutely, yes.
If, it is important to get the Park and Rec Commission, it is important to get the input on there, but if we can't call a special session for that and get some input on it, something's wrong.
We do.
Because we can't keep waiting months and months to put things together, because the longer we wait, the higher the cost is. We already have a $5 million delta. It's going to be 6, it's going to be 7, and then nothing's going to get done. So if people want to be on these committees and on these things, sometimes you got to have a special session and meet every couple weeks to get it done and push it through.
I agree.
So can we please do that?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And I would like to do a
We will.
motion to approve option 2 for the space for the skate park and the basketball court.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
4-0,
you.
Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Be exciting. When are we, so when do you think we'll break ground on all this?
Oh.
And when will it be done? Assuming we get the interior expedited, the design on that.
Yeah, break ground, so, right now, let's see, I have it right in front of me. Give me a second.
There it is. I've got it up here on the screen, Jen.
Okay, so this is our process right now. We've got schematic design. We got a approval of option 2 we're moving forward with now. We're gonna bring back to you both advances and feedback that we receive at a workshop, community workshop, and further designs with cost estimating, and we're gonna bring that to you on December 3rd, is the plan. And then, right now, then we'll move into design development phase. Right now, that's 12 weeks, ending in February of 2025. We could probably go faster.
Yes.
And construction documentation. I think we're gonna come back to you at construction document phase and show the progress. That's gonna happen right now in about July of 2025. And then we're aiming to submit a 90% CD package to Building and Safety in August 2025. And then we got another page here.
Is there, just along a similar train of thought, is there anything we can do to expedite this? I mean, getting the CD drawings and Yeah, I have
10,
11 months.
I have a recommendation.
Yeah.
We've already seen, at least on the subcommittee, conceptual designs of the interior. So you guys can look at that one-on-one. We could probably take it to the Parks and Rec Commission now.
Yes.
Because now that we have the footprint, all we're waiting for is approval of the conceptual and then some type of design for the actual skate park. So I think if we work on those in tandem, we should probably get those, seeing if there's no issues with the conceptual designs for the teen center or changes, that work has pretty much been done. The only thing that hasn't been designed, I think, is now going to be the skate park based on the footprint we just decided
Correct.
on.
I just saw a big sigh from our architect.
Well, we just adjusted from the original schedule up until now of getting the approval. The basic weeks have changed from our original schedule. So what I'm hearing from you is, can we sharpen our pencil, not on price, but on schedule and expedite?
Well, yeah, we don't want to, obviously, we don't want the price to go up if we can help it.
Yeah.
But we'd like to see this thing, I think, come to fruition faster is what I'm sensing up here.
And if we can work internally with, I can work with the city manager and work with each of you to determine if we can, not do some of these or not have it to go back and forth so many times. I think that's what's really slows us down. I've given her all the committees and when they meet, so she's had to plan all those dates out. 2-week lead time on every council report. That's when it starts to kind of expand. But I bet we can work together and sharpen the
And I
timeline.
think with Council Member Giroux saying, we shouldn't hesitate to call special meetings. We don't have to wait for those one-time monthly meetings.
Right.
So we'll go back and take a look at that and how we can schedule special meetings
We
to
can do
speed it
that.
up.
Plus, isn't, the subcommittee is made up of 2 council members and 2 Park and Rec Commissions.
Commissioners.
So you're doing a subcommittee of council and Park and Rec Commission, and then you go in the Rec Commission, and then you come to the council.
Yes.
I think we got a little bit of an outage on this, or let's just try to meet more often and just kick this thing over, because it's just I look at a staff report, it's been a year since we first started talking about this, and I know it wasn't this group, but it's still been a year.
Yeah, we could do that. We can actually go back and I can agendize it for the Rec and Park Commission and let them know we are going to be meeting on a more regular basis. And if, I think Ryan
I'm
thinks
always here.
we'll be glad to do it. That's a great idea. and
Whenever you
we'll
want
be
to
glad
meet,
to do that.
I'll bore you to death with my opinions.
Yeah, we'll do that.
So to answer your question fully too, so this only gets us to 100% CD and, a set of permittable drawings. And so then if that's,
To bid it, yeah.
it's relative, but if that was September of 2025, then it would go out to bid. Elias, your bid process?
Yeah. Then after the city council adopts the plans at the same city council meeting, we can request authorization to advertise the project. Typically, these public projects have to be advertised minimum 2 weeks, but in this case, maybe 3 weeks to get a good contractor. So if all goes well, we should be getting bids about a couple of months afterwards and get back to city council with a low bid, ask authorization to award a construction contract and get on with the groundbreaking. I must tell you that so far this has been on the teen center. There is another part of the design with MIG which has to do with the ball fields. And that is also in the works, and the concentration has been on the teen center for right now. But I must tell you that that aspect of work also going to take some time, because part of the field used to be a burial for the tiles, and it is all with the county, and the environmental kicks in. So I just want to let you know that this project got multiple arms.
With that in mind, then, can we carve this out and say teen center is phase 1A and get that done and stop conflating the other issues for right
Yes.
now?
Yes.
Yes.
We can
I'm
do
a little
that.
frustrated, I'm sorry, but
Yes.
it literally has been a year, and I'm looking now, it's another year.
Yeah, I think we can move it forward.
You're going to have to redo this. There could be a whole new council here in the next couple months.
By separating it, if we get the pumps redone at Stevenson, then all of a sudden those fields become part of the
Exactly.
irrigation plan anyway. So,
Yes, we'll just focus on this, and we just spoke, and we think we can move it up significantly if we can either do some special meetings or just set that expectation now. Maybe we're meeting twice per month, maybe meeting twice per month with Rec Park Commission. we're happy to do whatever we can to move it forward, because it has been
You're
difficult.
gonna have to do a new reach out to outreach to teenagers, because teenagers are now young adults and not teenagers anymore.
Right,
And the ones and the ones that were 10 are now teenagers.
Right.
Seriously, this is what's happening though.
right. But we're
So
here.
we need to figure out how to kick
Yes.
this into gear.
We'll do it.
When people start using the skate park with knee braces. Okay.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all the hard work on that. All right. Item 16, third and fourth quarter fiscal year 2023-2024 financial report, CFO Paul Chung. Thank you.
Well, you're getting settled. Can I ask a dumb skate park history question? I know we talked about, somebody came up with an idea about reusing the old BMX track that used to be up by where Imperial is now. And so I floated a random about different spots up there that are unused in that median that might have good topography for skateboarding.
Pump track would work.
I'm just throwing it out there.
That one at Inglewood's busy all the
Make
time.
LAX build it. Oh, song.
Well, thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. I do have a short presentation for you regards to the third quarter and fourth quarter financial report. This really encompasses more of a kind of a year-to-date more than anything for fiscal year 23-24. Just due to timing, because we went dark during the summer and finance closing the books, we felt that instead of coming to you in third quarter, we'll just kind of combine this and get you kind of a year-to-date update on what our numbers look like for the prior fiscal year of 23-24. And then, of course, this is a receive and file. And I'll go into the various kind of details on revenues on the general fund side, all funds, and also on the expenditures for the general fund and all fund side as well. So just to jump into general fund revenues, we've collected or realized $95.4 million on the general fund, and that was 7% higher than what we budgeted during that fiscal year. And when we compare that to prior fiscal year, so fiscal year 22-23, we realized $96.3 million. So there is a little less than $1 million delta between prior fiscal year versus our last fiscal year. And kind of doing some research, it looks like during that time, we got to remember that was post-COVID. There was quite a bit of pent-up demand for just kind of getting out of our homes. And so we saw a big rise in sales tax. We saw TOTs, but also utility users tax coming in really high in that particular fiscal year. So that was really kind of an outlier. And then come prior fiscal year 23-24 was more kind of a normalized post-COVID era of revenues that we realized during that period. If we look at the top 5 revenues for the year, that fiscal year, we were 2% higher in our overall revenues compared to what we thought we would bring in. So that equated to $1.4 million in revenues. And of course, the 5 revenues are the sales tax, business license, TOT, property tax, and utility users tax. And I wanted to preface to council that we meaning finance, is still closing the books. We still have to go through an audit, and that won't happen until probably the end of the calendar year. And I'll come back to council in January of 2025 with our ACFR, our annual comprehensive financial report. That's the audited report with true final numbers. But I don't expect the numbers to deviate too much from what I present to you tonight. And if there are, of course, I will let you know in January. Just kind of jumping into some charts here. As you're aware, sales tax is our biggest contributor to the general fund. It was $15.3 million during this fiscal year. The next up was the business license tax. As you know, the fiscal year 23-24 was a year that the business license tax was, the measure kicked in, and we brought in a little over $14 million. Prior year to that was $12 million, so we did see an increase of 11%. Yes,
That's what I was going to ask you, sir. Sorry to interject so quickly,
yes.
but do you know how much of the business BLT was attributable to that increase?
Yes, so that increase was $1.4 million was attributed to the new measure that kicked in.
Okay, so we would have been off prior year slightly, is that right, without that?
Yes.
Just trying to get, because that is a function of square footage and head count, which is
Yes.
our leading indicator on how we're doing, so,
Yeah.
okay.
One loss was kind of aerospace, that because they're a nonprofit, that part of the new measure included nonprofits, and so they weren't paying the business license, and we lost a little less than $700,000 that they would have paid. So that was a big hit to us that we didn't predict. TOT.
Can I ask a quick
yes.
question? I know that we show that we're slightly off year on year on general fund, but do we have an all funds comparison? Because we allocated some things to reserve and some things to different funds. Do we know what the all fund was year on year?
Yes, I do have all funds revenues, but I don't have a all funds comparable. Oh, it is in the report though. I do go into some of the details in the financial report,
I'm not
more than the highlights.
I may have missed it. If it is, I apologize.
No, but I do go into the detail. So let me just get to that. I know we're jumping, but no problem.
117?
I think it's on page.
So we came in 177 on 165 on the revision, but I don't see the comparison to 22,
Yeah, no,
23.
I'm sorry. We don't do a comparison to the prior year for all funds, but
Because there is a little bit of distortion because of the way we move things around to capital improvement and to reserve.
yes, there are some movements, but maybe I can touch on that at least on the 22-24, and then
go ahead,
see if I can compare that to 22-23. Just to close out for revenues, let me go back to revenues here. So just going into some of the details behind our general fund revenue numbers. Sales tax, as I mentioned, we brought in $15.3 million, 5% higher than what we projected on the budget side. Business license tax, as I mentioned, $14.2 million. It was a little shy of what we predicted, but we did hit that 14.3 anticipated revenue, just shy of that, but still very close. Highlight line number 4, property tax, was still very strong, $13.4 million versus what we budgeted of $12.5. So
That
about
was, I think
7%
we
higher.
had one of the highest, if not the highest, property valuation increases, if I remember correctly. coming
Yes.
I think it's the
from-
sixth highest in Southern California.
Sixth highest in Southern Cal, it's pretty good.
Yes, as you know, the interest rates did go up, so that hit regards to overall sales, but of course, the median house sale price increased in El Segundo.
Which gives us about $800 per house.
I don't have that calculation, but yeah,
I'm here for you.
Thank you. And then line 5 is our Chevron TRA. So this is really the true-up budget line item, meaning that the TRA this year, or fiscal year 23-24, we were expecting $15.1 million to come in from Chevron. Of course, that nets out what they paid on the sales tax, utility users tax, property tax, and business license tax, and whatever is remaining is that true-up payment. And we budgeted 5.5, and that's always fluid because we're not quite sure how much that true-up payment will be, but the actual payment to true-up Chevron was $3.5 million to get them a total of $15.1 million that they paid to the city. Line number 9, skipping down, franchise tax, this was another area we saw a big increase. We brought in $6.6 million versus what we budgeted of $4.2 million. And really that was driven by Southern California Gas and SCE regards to their rates going up. And of course, we naturally got the portion of that on the franchise tax side. And then last, line 13, interest in rental income, really driven by our return on investment on our yields through our city treasurer. As you can see, we brought in $6.7 million. We budgeted 3, but it was quite much more than what we budgeted.
Just list that line item as Robinson.
You know, I always highlight that as a one-time increase. You don't always want to expect that to continue and plan spending according to the return on that investment, because that can't always be forever. So that's something that always on the back of my mind when we see something that big come in as well. Going into just all funds revenue, I'm just going to highlight a few items here for you, Council. Line 1, general fund, as I mentioned, we collected $95.4 million total versus $89.1 million that we budgeted. So it was about 7% higher, or $6.3 million. On the water fund side, we realized $34 million versus what we budgeted of $36.9 million. But just wanted to preface that budget was too high going in when we budgeted that number. We seen just conservation overall, and so we just had to buy less water. But overall, the water fund, if you look at it on the expenditure side, which I will cover on the expenditure all funds, is in the black, meaning we are overall net positive on the water fund.
That is maddening, right? That we use less water, but the per unit cost continues to go up because the fixed cost of providing the water.
Unfortunately,
There's no gain to it. It's incredible.
Yes.
Scott's still here.
Skipping down to line 5, the general fund CIP, you see this 15.7 million versus what budget of 8 million. This is really not actual monies collected, but this is transfers out from the general fund into the general fund CIP for the plunge project for the CIP that we did during the year. And so total all funds at the bottom, $177.7 million versus what we budgeted of $165 million. So overall, a $12 million variance. That we collected more than we budgeted, and that was about 7% higher than what we budgeted. Okay. Moving on to expenditures, just to touch on some of the highlights here. On the expenditure side, we expended $97.4 million, close to 99% of our overall expenditure budget for the year. That compared to last year or prior fiscal year, at 22-23 fiscal year of $83.5 million. And that real big jump there, about $10 million or $14 million increase, really came down to three things. A CPI increase equated to about $1 million increase. The various MOU and COLA increases that occurred during that fiscal year of 23-24 equated to $3 million. And then lastly, that general fund CIP transfers that we funded the plunge, that also was equated in that number, so that was close to $10 million. So that's where we see that increase in expenditures during fiscal year 23-24 versus 22-23. Overall, vacancies for the departments were north of 10%. We're still working on trying to bring that down this year. And O&M costs were just on pace with budget. And just wanted to add that these numbers, as I mentioned, aren't final, but I will have a final number in January once we draft the act for. Just this chart here, as you know, the top two of police and fire is our public safety budget. They're the largest expenditure budget in the city. And then you see this big transfers out, and of course that was due to the plunge, funding the plunge, moving general fund monies to the CIP fund to fund the plunge project. Going into just the department's expenditures for the year, the top two, police and fire, police spent $21.7 million versus what they budgeted of $21.7, so they were right in line. Fire also was in line at $14.4 million versus $14.5 in their budget. Transfers out, line 3, as I mentioned, was that big transfer for the plunge project from the general fund to the CIP. Hence, you see that big, it's not really actuals, it's more of a transfers out of the appropriation to the CIP fund. And then just want to touch on line 5, the non-departmental. You see $8.2 million versus $7.1 million. That has various expenses, but the reason for that increase was for the vacation and sick payout that we do for the city. We did see a higher vacation/sick payout this year. Historically, we were around $800,000. This past fiscal year, 22-24, was closer to $1 million in vacation/sick payout. Overall, general fund expenditures were at $97.5 million, and we budgeted $97.5. So we were in line with our expenditure budget for the year. Jumping on to just the all funds expenditure, and hopefully, Mayor Pro Tem, hopefully I can touch on or answer your question on that all funds comparison for prior fiscal year. But on the general fund side, we spent $97.5, as I mentioned, and we were on budget for $97.5. So we're good there. Kind of going down to line 3, transportation funds. We spent $10.1 million versus what we budgeted of $17.5. That's really because of the various CIP related projects that's funded by transportation funds. That money wasn't spent, meaning it was rolled over to this current fiscal year for those CIP projects related to transportation funds. Line 6, the general fund CIP, we spent $1.5 million versus the budget of $26.8. So that big delta is really being that most of that money was for the plunge and the rec park project, and that of course rolled over from prior fiscal year to this current fiscal year to continue that project. Line 7, the equipment replacement fund, we spent $1.3 million or $1.4 million versus what we budgeted in $18.4 million. So this one here, the big delta is really because of when we budgeted the budget for equipment replacement. I don't know if you recall during the budget study session, but last year in 23-24, we actually budgeted the whole equipment replacement fund for all equipment that was basically going to be replaced for that particular year. We shouldn't have done that. We should have just budgeted for what we're going to replace and the depreciation of those equipment. So we corrected that budget this year, so it's no longer $3 million this year. So we corrected that this year. We only spent $1.4 million.
I think we also denied a couple proposed expenditures
You
of the
did.
equipment replacement.
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Yes. And that's reflected in this fiscal year's budget. Just kind of coming down to line 13, even though it's labeled as Rec and Economic Development Trust Fund, it's really the donations fund. And so you see that $2.7 million versus what we budgeted of $284. This really was a $2.5 million transfer from the donations fund into the capital fund for the plunge. So that 2.5 was basically a general fund loan for the plunge project, so that eventually we'll do some fundraising and replenish that donation fund of that $2.5 million. And so total expenditures for the year, all funds was $169.9 million versus $224.1 million budget. So we spent 80%, 75.8% of the budget that was planned for last year.
With the zeroed out goal fund, is it completed repaying the equipment replacement fund for all the loans it took out, the interdepartmental loans we took out when we were still funding the lakes?
Yes.
So we're fully fleshed out on that?
Yes.
Hey, we did it. I mean, have any champagne over that? I mean, that was a multi-year project.
Yes. All right. And just last page here for the council, just kind of talking about reserves here. Healthy reserves, general fund reserves remains at 25% or $23.1 million. The economic uncertainty reserves remains at $2 million. The OPEB reserves at $33.4 million. The pension trust reserves at $5.8 million. And lastly, the general fund CIP reserves remains at $400,000. So those are the total reserves.
Also another milestone, by far largest reserves the city's ever had. Not just in absolute dollars, but as a percent of general fund revenue. And that doesn't include the housing trust fund. Because those are dollars that set aside that we got from D.R. Horton by way of negotiation when the school system sold them that land. That's just waiting there for a project that we have available to us as well.
Gotcha. And I'll
Anyway.
make sure I include that. But I will take your word for it, Mayor. I didn't do a year-over-year comparison, but it does look that at least prior year, the prior 2 years,
Bank on
definitely
it.
the reserve on it. I'll take your word for it, Mayor.
Can I, it's slightly off topic, but are we still 100% funded on OPEB? With that number, we projected to be 100% funding with no UAL on it.
I don't believe so, not on the OPEB side. I know that none of our, whether it be our pension or OPEB, is at 100%. We are finalizing the actuarial report. That'll get us a number, and I can give you that later after I see that report, but I know it's
Because
not
we haven't
100%.
funded OPEB in a few years based on that
Yes,
actuarial table that said
you're
we
right.
were 100% funded. So that was something that was sneaking up on us before.
Yes.
It was a significant number before.
And my memory is, I believe it's at 88%, but I'll double check that, and I'll follow with the council on what that number is.
And we won't know our new UAL number till next June, July.
Yes, that impact won't be till next July, yeah.
Okay.
No.
Well, I mean, it should make up some ground, but, I mean, not 100% ground, but the pension trust reserve helps with some of that. But
Yes. All right. That concludes my presentation. If council has additional questions.
Any questions or comments, colleagues? Great work.
after cutting him off for the last 10 minutes, I will not say anything about that.
Thank you, council.
Well done, thank you, sir. This is a receive and file, so we're going to move on. All right, last but not least, we have our Planning Commissioner Chair, Michelle Keldorf, to present on the Planning Commission update.
Hello, good evening. Always educational to be here, so thank you. Thanks for going pretty quick for me tonight, too, not 11 o'clock. I am Michelle Keldorf, Planning Commission Chair, here to report. It says 2024 annual update will actually cover everything that's happened from January 2023 through June 2024, so it's more of an 18-month update. A little bit of background, I know you all know this, but just for our viewing audience, Planning Commission is 5 El Segundo residents appointed by City Council. Major roles: affirm the director's decisions on administrative use permits, adjustments, and interpretations, approve land use applications, including conditional use permits, subdivisions, and variances,
make recommendations to City Council on zone code amendments, general plan amendments, adoption of specific plans and related development projects. And then this last point I want to dwell on for a minute, it says provide input to staff on planning-related measures, issues. I would be completely remiss if I did not acknowledge the huge effort by staff. Really, it works the other way. It's their efforts that we're reporting on for the last 18 months. I've been on Planning Commission for 6 years. I have to say, I think this is the strongest staff that we have ever had. Michael Allen, leading the department, is doing a phenomenal job, and much of what we have accomplished is really because of their leadership, so thank you for that. And we do have a lot to cover. Since September of 2021, we've had 4 meetings specific to housing element, and that housing element was certified by the state on July 15th. Again, that is a huge undertaking. It goes through 2029. We've been working on it for a while. I know that this is something that's discussed at City Council often, but state mandates are no longer check the box. It is really something that is necessary. And I personally feel phenomenal about how we've accomplished that in this period of time, creating housing options west of PCH in a way that really preserves our R1, R2 zones, our small town character. And again, that is very much due to staff's effort. Our job is to provide direction, and they really take that and then give us solutions. And I feel like that's a lot of what has been accomplished in the last 18 months. We also held 6 study sessions with planning staff specific to the Smoky Hollow specific plan, 3 regarding the downtown specific plan, and then 2 regarding development standards that roll up into the housing element for the R3, mixed use overlays. Happy to go through. If I needed a bit of a refresher, we've done so much, so I went back and looked at those specific plan updates with Eduardo, but happy to review that in a little more detail. We also just recently approved an amendment to the El Segundo South Campus specific plan. I think you'll remember it related to the parking being a separate lot and parcel, and then came back to council with the recommendation that it would always have to be adjacent to that retail portion, which is a good adjustment there. A general plan amendment and zone change, again, this rolls up into the housing element. So element program number 6 and number 9, which relates to rezoning 9 sites, a combination of the residential the housing overlay and the mixed use overlay. Those are primarily along PCH, Imperial, a couple of internal sites, the church property on Grand, Weil Park, Wiley, and the Moose Lodge, which I just always like to throw in there because it's fun to tease.
Unbelievable you bring that up.
Too soon. Listen, nobody wants to sell it. I promise you that. We also had adjustments to the R3 zone. This is kind of a carryover from a while ago. There was a subcommittee when Carol Wingate was on Planning Commission, and we looked at all of the sites along Washington Park and said if you were to rebuild everything today, it would result in fewer units than what's there currently. So that R3 zone has now been adjusted to, I think it's 30 units to the acre, so that, to spur development, or at least not have somebody remodel and wind up with fewer units than they started with. And then again, just progress reports on the general plan, annual implementation, and housing element progress report. And I know the general plan, I think, was discussed at last city council meeting, perhaps, or a couple of city council meetings, going through what the next stage will be. So we will incorporate relooking at Smoky Hollow as it relates potentially to residential, and then a land use element that will cover the entire city. 5 zone text amendments that are, again, rolled up primarily into that housing element. So micro units, establishing some level of protocol for a percentage. I believe it's 25% that is the maximum that could be included in any development project. A density bonus provision that puts us in line with what we have an ordinance that now matches what the state mandate is. So up to a 20% density bonus for projects that include affordability. And then increasing density, which we already talked about, in a few key areas of the city, and creating reasonable accommodations process for individuals with disabilities. Did 2 site plan reviews. One is a 7-story office, 5-level parking structure. That's actually the Beach City Media Campus. Came back and had a redesign. And then a new drive-through Starbucks, also at the campus, El Segundo campus. So, right, that's what we're calling it, El Segundo South Campus. Yeah.
It's like Commons, Chargers
Commons, Charger Commons. 4 conditional use permits, 1 being the drive-through Starbucks, 3 wireless communication facilities. 1 mitigated neg deck and reporting program, 2 vesting tentative track map extensions. Part of what we're seeing is that with increased interest rates, we're not pulling construction loans like we were, so some of these projects, many of these projects are getting extended. 1 subdivision map, and then a certificate of compliance for the plunge renovation. Again, Planning Commission's role is to just make sure that we're compliant with land use, which it is. And then 9 administrative use permits for alcohol at various restaurants and businesses. I do not think we have ever denied a permit for alcohol in the city of El Segundo. 2 of which, 1 is at Love Life, right? And then 1 is a new pickleball, so 2 social pickleball club options for your enjoyment. I think that's it. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Pre-2016, there was no alcohol outside in public facilities. No, honestly, that was the sentiment of the council. They were very
yeah,
upset
there was
about
like a
that.
big wine festival and people said no.
Yeah, so it was a turn of events actually for the city in the last probably 8 years or so. But I had a question about Smoky Hollow specific plan. Any big development? I can't weigh in on it because I have a conflict there. But any big ideas, developments coming out of those study workshops?
In the future, or what we just approved?
Yeah, either one.
Yeah, so, part of what was some updates made, I think we now allow small and large fitness centers with the CUP. Tutoring is allowed, kind of one of those strange things that somehow was not, and then during COVID became a request. I don't know that that is still the case there. Also change, I think for me, the most significant change was to the community benefit kind of calculation. So what you used to get credit for exemplary design architecture is now really standard. And I think that's a great change because, we want that to really shine. And so to get credit for going above and beyond. And most of the projects that have come before us were incorporating that. And so to give it additional points for that is no longer. Is there anything else big I'm missing? Outdoor dining parking was adjusted. So I don't think it fits. It's not calculated in the square footage anymore for a parking requirement, or at least was adjusted.
And on the fitness centers, because I know one of the constraints was just parking for some of these facilities. Is there a carve out for that, or how does that work?
In Smoky Hollow, it's a flat 1 per 400 regardless of the use. And so by absorbing or changing the standard to create a fitness center that was more boutique, not the LA Fitness 24-hour fitness type of fitness center, we were able to keep that 1 per 400 for the mom and pop type of fitness centers.
Got it, thank you. And then given just one more question about one project in particular is really going to add a lot of housing inventory for us, but it's been sitting idle, to your point exactly about struggles with the capital markets. Do we have is there anything we can do to help, or are we just in a waiting game? Is there, not that we'd want to enforce, but it's just, what's typical? Maybe this is a question for Mr. Allen, I'm not sure, based on his experience in other cities. Or is it just a wait and see kind of thing, or?
It might be a little bit of both. I think we have to continue to look at the development envelope, not just in Smoky Hollow, but citywide, particularly east of PCH, as Chair Keldorf mentioned. The land use element update is going to be critical moving forward, looking at the development envelope in general, moving forward, and with the changing landscape for brick and mortar retail or different types of big box retail in the office space, and the changing landscape in those areas, we're going to have to rethink the land use patterns, and particularly east of PCH.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
But it's, as far as Pacific Coast Commons, traditionally, my experience has been is when you get a development right, it comes close to expiring, the city extends that, knowing there's other finances, other reasons, but they normally continue to give leeway to the developer to actually develop their project, even if they're lagging behind. Well, they have to come back to the planning commission and extend their development rights, otherwise they will lose them.
I mean, the good news in that was that we increased our development impact. I think it's good news. Maybe I shouldn't prejudice us with that, but we increased our development impact fees prior to them pulling permits, which means that, you know, there will be a higher impact fee. Had they pulled right away, I don't know if that would have been the case.
I think it's gonna be really interesting. I know Chris won't speak, but, you know, we just have one huge property that just went to the bank. It was at a height of valuation of like 700 million. Now it's trading at like 125. I know I've said this before. Those are gonna pose some really interesting challenges for the planning commission, whoever's on that body, and for your department as those things coming down the pike. As the demand, you know, according to CBRE last quarter, we're at 25.8% vacancy in Class A and B commercial, fully absorbed pretty much in industrial, almost absorbed in retail. So if you're a property developer and you're playing the long game, you're thinking, what am I doing with this inventory that I have? So I think it's going to be a really interesting time ahead, and maybe by way of the general plan, we can get ahead of it, you know, shape that a bit as opposed to reacting to what's coming. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, my question was along those lines. When do we not extend a development agreement? You know, I don't know that I've seen us not extend one, but we have a couple properties that have been fallow for a number of years, and obviously it's a difficult capital market. But I mean, some of them are in significant disrepair. Some of them have been raised, which takes away some of the attractive uses. But is there a criteria by which we say, hey, look, we've seen all your other properties have gone back to the bank. We don't think this is happening, and then.
There is a certain number of extensions, right, that they can file for. So like Pacific Coast Commons has filed once for an extension. They have at least one more available to them.
There are findings in the code. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there are particular variables that the commission and administrative staff do need to make when considering those extensions. But to your point, at least in the last 3 years that I've been here, I don't think we have not awarded an extension. Circumstances are pretty dire in some folks' cases, and so we've been sensitive to the market constraints that exist. But there are findings, and they're related to continued efforts or market constraints. And when those things don't exist, then the commission has the ability to renege on any further extensions.
Okay. And this is a little bit of one of those dreaded magic wandy kind of questions, but so much of our time, it seems to me, and not ever being on the planning commission, we spend time adjusting to new and upgraded state mandates, and some of which may come in the new battery of bills that are on the governor's desk. But is there a mechanism by which we can better communicate to people things that are ministerial decisions and which ones we have administrative control over? Because there's some things, you know, if despite our best efforts on how we regulate subdivisions and pieces like that may no longer be in our control, and commissioners are going to be on the first hook for it to catch the slings and arrows, and then we'll be, you know, second in line, cowering behind you. Are there things are there mechanisms by which we can better communicate to people about what is in our control?
We can always better communicate to people across the board. So yes, definitely. But, and this is something I wasn't in here but meant to bring up, you know, our reaction to SB 9, SB 10, which is lot splits and 2 on a lot. This, to me, is also an area where our planning department really shined. It was, yes, this is the mandate, but what are the tools that we have to address this? And we really focused on development standards, and Planning Commission received that guidance from staff. And I think because staff understood where as a community we wanted that to go. And so we did focus on what are the things that we can implement so that we regain some level of control in this. So communication, yes, but I do think that we can always say, this is a state mandate, but this is how we're addressing it for our community.
Thank you.
And Mr. Allen,
To add to that, I would just say that I think as staff and as an attorney that does this, since the state changes the law almost every year now, like with the ADUs for 3 or 4 out of 5 or 6 years, they changed the law. Just us keeping up on it is very difficult, and so getting that to the public and getting them to, digest that, I think is really difficult. And then SB 9 and these different, they keep changing the rules about, what is ministerial and changing the goalposts on that. So it is a very difficult process to keep everybody educated. And I assume that Sacramento will keep doing this for years to come now. That's my 2 cents.
Thus far, the governor's only signed one bill this year originating in the Senate. So SB 450 hasn't gone anywhere, and that's the one that blows up our clever work around SB 9.
I wanted to ask, with all the housing overlays and density bonuses in our housing element, were we still able to implement a request for some type of development agreement to where we can actually see the plan, talk about parking and traffic, or was that something the state said a tool we couldn't have anymore?
Yeah, so the housing overlay sites, so those 9 sites that the chair mentioned, the state indicated that the DA or the development agreement was not an appropriate tool to leverage for the additional density. That is why we did not pursue, it's part of the reason why we did not pursue the rest of the overlays. If you recall, we had also discussed overlays on other areas along Imperial, the backside of Washington, Indiana, or PCH, and in the Franklin Whiting neighborhood. And so those options are still available to us, but we did not want to wrap that into the overlays that the state was otherwise saying can't use a development agreement. So when that time comes and we are ready for that discussion, we'll still be able to use a development agreement to tier the density bonuses, but it's not necessary at this time in order to satisfy HCD. So we have held off on that strategy for the rest of the sites.
Okay. And then, Michelle, you mentioned the media campus. Is that the one on Rosecrans, kind of between the Point and the movie theater area?
Yep.
Okay, and they came back and asked for some, all right, good. Glad that's moving forward.
Yeah, and I will say we have seen, it just came up at the last planning commission meeting as well, that I was unfortunately not there for, but a request for a change in use. So when a developer is struggling because of the environment, they are not shy about coming back and making that request.
All right, any other questions or comments? That was a receive and file. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, that concludes our regular business. City clerk reports.
Nothing this evening.
Nothing this evening. Thank you. City treasurer is not here. Councilmember Baldino.
Yeah, today is actually National Register to Vote Day. So I want to encourage everyone, go to lavote.org. Make sure your registration is current. Please participate in our upcoming election. And I want to also congratulate our football team for beating South at South last weekend. Great game, and looking forward to seeing everyone at this homecoming game coming up.
That's next week after this, right? I think they have a bye this week, right? It's a week from Friday, isn't it? Is it this Friday? Maybe my son just has a bye because he has to qualify still. Okay, sorry, I'm confused. Thank you. All right, we're going to go on to Councilor Drew.
Nothing from me this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Pivotal. Councilmember Pershing's not here.
They're still waiting for the party on West Palm to end before they can have the homecoming game. I don't know if kids will be. It was loud. God bless them. I'm sure they got the amplified sound permit. Oh my God, are you kidding me? It sounded like the Inglewood party was going on by my house. It was amazing. Sanitation starts again tomorrow. What that means to us is, one, there's been 2 notable spills. We allocate funds for that at the county level to cover those. None of those were of dereliction of duty. Those are purely related to land. And that brings up the RPV piece, which is an enormous cost on the county side. All of that sewage is trucked up over the hill into the Carson piece. That is not something that is provided. We have emergency funding for it. About $7 million, I think, just came in from one county fund to another in emergency funding, but nothing has come from the state yet. Those funds, those people are not leaving, right? Because those, land movement is not covered by their insurance, so they are not leaving those houses. So unless they have septic, if they are on the county waste side, it is all going to be trucked, and that is going to continue. 51 more homes just got cut off, so you can see that is an ongoing utility issue. We don't bear the brunt of any of the power and gas part, but we do bear it on the sewage piece. And that's for our people who are in Sanitation District 5, east of PCH. we had COG transportation, and the most interesting piece of that, well, there's three interesting spots. One down the road will be Inglewood has applied for a significant amount of funding for their train that will connect SoFi to the metro system. That is an ongoing significant project, as all big infrastructure projects go. It's an enormous amount of money. It's going to take a very long time, and so there'll be a little bit of wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth as we work through that. So that will come both at the transportation meeting and then at the steering committee, or excuse me, at the board meeting on a Thursday. So whichever one of us draws the short straw, we'll get beat about the head, breast, chest, and neck at that. Most interestingly, though, is that coming toward the end of November, the LAX, the station going through, not to LAX, but going past LAX on the train is scheduled to open on November 30th after beta testing. Now, that will probably slide to Christmas, I think, just because of the way that seasonal thing works, but conceivably you could get on the Green Line, what used to be the Green Line, and go all the way to West Hollywood. Single ride. I mean, that's a big deal, and that's in our lifetime. They finished a train project. I'll stop beating them up. And you will be able to get off at LAX and take a shuttle in should you so choose at the Century. So that's forecast for November 30th. Figure it'll probably slide a month, but that would be a big deal. And lastly, as Elias knows, we will do the big culling of projects among the entire region. I think there's 3 big ticket items that are likely to come off for allocated funds, which should free up funds for other projects. And I think there will be a little bit of a first come, first served on good ones. So I think there'll be some interesting new ideas for us, your tax dollars at work. And lastly, I went to a meeting for cities that are trying to attract space innovation. And we were the only city present. And when they go around the room and say, who's here? And I was like, oh, I'm Chris on the city council from El Segundo. Everybody cheered. For us, they just like to be here. There was a cool company from Atlanta, and they were like, yeah, we met all of our funders in El Segundo. We wish we'd stayed. It was awesome. They build the skins for hypersonic planes. So when Hermes out in Lancaster is building the next generation of the Concorde, all the materials were those guys. So although they're not our company, I kind of feel like they sort of were. That's all.
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let's see. Chris and I had an incredible tour with a couple Department of Defense PhDs who were in town, and their whole charge is to find cities that have an industrial capacity and the intellectual capacity to invest in, and they've got federal dollars to do so. It was very interesting. We toured the F-18 line, which I'd never been to. It was fun for me because I used to work on F-14s, and the whole fuselage is done right there on Aviation Street, but that could turn into something big if we could find the local, regional, and state funds to match their federal funds. We had one of our entrepreneurs, Cameron Schiller, super bright, one of these Gundo tech bros. I didn't coin the term, that's what they call themselves, in Smoky Hollow. And he's working on robotics and automated manufacturing. He basically makes one-off F-35 parts on demand. Incredible. So he was the coordinator. We toured 2 different facilities, and they're very interested in El Segundo. And so there's a lot of legwork that went into that with staff and everything else, so that's good news. The Ready Day, I mean, kudos to Todd DeVoe. I know Mayor Pro Tem was there. That Ready Day was amazing. Dr. Lucy Jones was there, so she got to, it was great that we had an earthquake that day. It wasn't great we had an earthquake, but it was kind of a nice little shake up, and fortunately it wasn't too significant. But we had some experts there, like the guy that did FEMA for President Obama. Chris, were you going to say something?
Oh, no, I was going to say, yeah, LAX's emergency management, former Cal OES director. I mean, it was big medicine.
Very well attended, too. We had a lot of CERT members there repping with their green shirts and hats. Amazing turnout, and I just reminded us how important it is to prepare for emergencies, and thank goodness we have Todd DeVoe. That was something that my predecessor, Mayor Fuentes, fought really hard for often. The 9/11 ceremony, Councilmember Drew and I attended that. That was somber and they did a very nice job at the fire department with that. I want to commend them. Then they had an amazing fire breakfast. That was also really great. A lot of people in attendance there. And then some residents in town did a great tribute to one of our friends who's no longer with us at the Skate Slam at the skate park, and that was also really well attended and fun. It was good to see that place activated. I mean, and then homecoming. I know it's not us at school district, but that was super fun to get all the kids together for my last hurrah out of 5 kids for homecoming anyway. On the business side, I met with council member Tracy Park today. So she's the LA council member that got the most votes in LA's history. going against Bonin, who also had a recall campaign going at the same time. She's done some great things that benefit us. And when I met her in Venice, it was clear that she's made a significant difference in Venice. And we talked a lot about how do we prevent the migratory nature of homeless coming into our city as other cities address grants passed and other rulings and new enforcement's ability. We also talked about Hyperion. We talked about LAX. We talked about the thing that Chris brought up, the fact that Hyperion generates 20 megawatts of excess energy and does nothing with it. That was news to her. It was a really good lunch and just started a relationship with LA, which we didn't have with the previous council member. We tried many times to meet with Mike Bonin, and we never got a meeting. So we have a process going there. And then finally, Deep Tech Week is in town. That was advocated for by El Segundo businesses and residents, namely Chuck Sims was a big part of that. He used to work for the Clippers, and he's now a resident of El Segundo that loves his town, and some businesses in town. And today, Mayor Pro Tem and I were at, well, I guess they rebranded. What's the new name? It was Wavemaker Labs? Weevu or?
Shoot.
It's like a four-letter word.
Vibu?
Vibu.
Robotic
or
arms.
Vibu.
Robotic arms.
It's like, yeah, robotics for fast food and other applications. Great event, well turned out. And that's going to go on all week long. So that is great for El Segundo, putting us on the map with the business community in LA and the Bay Area, because people are coming from all over to attend that. And that's all I have this evening. And
No robotic street sweepers yet.
robotic street sweepers, I'm telling you.
Coming.
It's coming. City attorney.
Nothing, Stevie.
All right, city manager.
Nothing for me also. Thank you.
We're adjourned. Thank you.